Hi, here's a shot from our workshop last night in Solitaire, and I've promised to do a quick edit of this in the black and white style to give it that sort of film noir. If you've got the latest version of Lightroom, it's got this thing here called a profile. So if we click on there, up pops all these profiles. You can see these artistic black and white and all sorts of stuff. Well, let's go to the black and whites, and what you can do is hover over each one as you go and find one you like. Now, one I did earlier was number 12. What I want is some light on this path, and the end to be fairly bright as well. So you can never click down them. So look at 12. See, 12's got this matte effect. I don't know if you can see there. It's not quite black, but it's lost all its detail. Oh, that's quite a nice sort of vintage effect, really. But 2, there we go. 2 looks quite good, and it's got a slider so you can vary the amount. So that's pretty good. Quite like that. So that's step 1. Choose a black and white. Step 2. This is where we just want to control how bright we want the highlights, so we can make them really bright if you want, or quite dark if you want. So I don't want the end too bright, because what I'm going to do in a minute is just draw up here and make this brighter. So that's step 1, profile. Step 2, control the highlights and shadows. If you want to bring out some detail in those shadows areas, you can slide to the right or to the left to make it darker. There we go. Next one, I would add a bit of clarity. Now what this does, it will just add contrast to these middle areas. It may bring the whites up a little bit, so you might want to take the highlights down. Next, I would zoom down to the what we're looking for, effects section for a vignette. So this darkens the edges and draws the eye towards the centre of the photo. What I tend to do is a fairly small midpoint and then do a big feather, 100% feather. Softens the edges so you don't get these harsh edges. If you turn the feather off, you get like a porthole effect. And then finally, because it's oldie worldy, you might want to put some grain on there. Grains just simulates the old film style. So if you zoom in, you can see all this grain. You might think it's noise, but that's actual grain we've added. If you take the grain off, that's what it actually looks like. So really, there's just a few really quick steps there which show you, how you can get quite a film noir effect. Or one other thing you could do, if you wanted to make it look really cool, as in cold, you could go to the split toning section here. You click on the little box on the shadows, and then you get an eye popper come up, and you can add colour, whatever you want. Now, if you want a cool effect, you could just put a very small amount of blue, and that'll give you a really chilling sort of look to the shot. Shall we just do a quick before and after? So if we create virtual copy, reset the copy, so that's where we started, which isn't ideal, and that's where we've ended up. And if one thing I didn't do was brush this a bit brighter, so I'm just going to brush up the path like that. So I've done the brushing. I'm now going to work out what to do with it. So if you add a bit of clarity, that brightens it up. Working on a bit of white, that brightens it up as well. Play with the highlights a little. Maybe I'll put some sharpening on it. Done. So let's just close that so you can see this a bit bigger. Half the job of photography, especially at night, is knowing what you can do after the event. So we've done all our settings on there. We can now apply them to this window here. So I press Control and clicked on the window, and I press Synchronize, and it pops up this box here with all the settings I've applied. So we've added. I'm just going to leave it as is. Actually, we've pretty much everything. We're just going to copy that across. And there you go. So what I was photographing here was these shiny bits on the buildings. You know, these areas here, they just add a little bit of magic. Right, anyway, that was supposed to be a short video, and it's probably gone quite long now, so have a go at that with your black and whites.